Hello, I'm Jack Grady, and on behalf of the Archives and History Committee of the First Baptist Church on the Square in LaGrange, Georgia, it is my privilege to document a highly effective ministry that has served our community for more than 20 years, the Meals on Wheels program and the Soup Kitchen outreach. On this day, September 2nd, 2011, with the help of video technician Paul Barnes, we will welcome the two leaders, the team leaders of these exceptional programs. And they have been involved from the very beginning, and they've made this an important food ministry from our church. Mr. Jim Lee handles our Soup Kitchen outreach ministry, and Mr. Bill Wright is the team leader for the Meals on Wheels program. Both of these programs are what I call people-intensive programs, and that's because there are a lot of people on the giving end, but there are a lot of people on the receiving end. And I might add, Jim and Bill are right in the middle of these two ministries, and that, of course, requires a lot of intelligent planning and diligent coordination. As we begin, let's get to know both of these men a little better, Jim and Bill. Jim, tell us, if you will, about your family, your profession of faith, how you happened to come to First Baptist Church in LaGrange.
Thank you, Jack. Of course, my name is Jim Lee, and my wife's name is Maxine. I was born and reared in Roanoke, Virginia, and so was Maxine. We both professed faith and were baptized when we were 11 years old. We have 2 children and 3 grandchildren. We were transferred to LaGrange by Milliken and Company in 1969 and immediately joined this wonderful church and have been members ever since.
Thank you, Jim. Now, Bill, would you share some things from your background?
Certainly. I was born in Atlanta and lived there until 1965, except for a 3-year period when we lived in Carrollton, Georgia, and a couple of periods when I was in the military in World War II and Korea. I was born in a Christian home and accepted Jesus Christ as my Savior and was baptized when I was 12 years old. I am married to Burma, and we are celebrating our 65th anniversary this year.
Wonderful.
We have 3 children, 2 girls in LaGrange and 1 son in Cumming, Georgia. In 1965, my job necessitated a transfer from Atlanta to LaGrange, and being good Baptist, we visited the First Baptist Church, liked it, joined it, and have been here ever since.
Good. Thank you, Bill. Now let's talk about this important mission outreach. From reviewing our church history, I have learned that the program began in 1990 and that both of you became volunteers at that time. Jim, how did First Baptist become involved in this program?
Well, Jack, it's my understanding that the city leaders in LaGrange back at that time determined that there was a great need to provide at least 1 meal a day for indigent and homebound people. They did some investigation, including perhaps a central location, and then turned to the downtown churches, proposing that each church take a day and set up a Meals on Wheels program and a soup kitchen program so that those meals would be delivered 5 days a week. This was done, and it's been going ever since.
And the soup kitchen program now is, of course, separate. How did it evolve from this initial ministry?
Well, the soup kitchen was set up initially with Red Hobson and Elizabeth Dix as co-chairman, and they had some wonderful volunteers. I was helping with Meals on Wheels. However, seeing that Red Hobson needed a lot of help moving food and setting up the tables for the soup kitchen, I quickly changed to volunteering and assisting Red Hobson. Red just retired last year after full service for this entire mission time. Elizabeth Dix has been deceased for a number of years. Currently, Ed McCarthy and I are chairman of the soup kitchen, and we have a group of wonderful volunteers helping.
Great, thank you. Describe, if you will, the food at the soup kitchen. Is it really soup and sandwiches?
No, it's not. It used to be. We would come in on Tuesday morning and fix up a big pot of soup, make sandwiches, and hand out soup and sandwich on our day on Tuesday. It has evolved into the point where we now serve a hot lunch, including vegetables, drink, and dessert on Tuesdays. And most of the food is left over from Wednesday night's service that we have at our church.
That's a great utilization of the food, extra food, isn't it?
Absolutely, and we do provide a wonderful meal on Tuesdays.
Jim, about this, how many people involved, would you say?
Right now we're averaging about 80 people on Tuesday. That hasn't changed much over the years. It has gone up and down slightly, but it's stayed at about 80 people. When we started, though, we probably had over 100 people, and it now has settled down into about 80 people.
Good, thank you. Well, let me ask you this. Are the people who show up for lunch screened?
No, soup kitchens don't screen people. We set up the lunch, open the door to the public, and welcome anyone who comes.
Do you think perhaps there might be an abuse of the program because of that?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. I think there's abuse of the program. There are always a group of people who take advantage of charitable programs, and I'm sure we have that group coming to our Tuesday service. But I'm also sure that we've got a large group of people who need the food, and if we didn't serve them that hot meal on Tuesday, they might not have a hot meal for that day.
Yeah, good. That's a great attitude, Jim. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Now, let's turn to Bill Wright and the Meals on Wheels program. Bill, we've learned now from Jim Lee that the soup kitchen involves setting the table, transporting the food from the church kitchen over to the basement of the office complex, and then serving a lunch for whoever shows up. But the Meals on Wheels program is significantly different, isn't it?
Yes.
As I understand it, the Meals on Wheels program involves selection of the homebound and other people who need this service, then assembling the food and putting it in the thermal bags that you use, and then delivering the food directly to the homes of the recipients. That's quite an undertaking. How many meals do you serve each week, Bill?
Jack, we are currently serving between 115 and 120 meals each week.
115 to 20. Wow. Wow. Well, what happens when you receive a name to be added to your group?
Each name that we receive is screened to the best of our abilities by either myself or Mrs. Faye Coker. to determine whether there is a real need, and also to determine if they meet our requirements. The name, after being screened by myself, is sent to Ms. Faye Coker. She checks it against her records. If the name is not on her list, she then notifies each of the other Meals on Wheels directors at the various churches for their consideration in whether the name should be put on their list. If it is on her list, she then notifies me, and the matter is dropped since they are getting meals from Ms. Coker's program.
So there are other churches involved, and there has to be some coordination then between the churches, among the churches, and she's involved apparently in that as well.
Well, there are several local churches that have Meals on Wheels programs, and each of these programs was originally organized as a mission of the individual churches. And these programs are operated and controlled entirely by the respective churches. As a result of this, we don't have a situation where we can look at every name that goes on every list. But we do work closely together throughout the year, and in addition to that, we meet 2 or 3 times a year to compare, to swap lists, and to discuss any problems that we have had since our last meeting, such as people or operation.
Good. That sounds like you've got a system that works well, and that you've got this coordination between the groups. And my understanding is now that the senior center, or Active Life as it's now called, is involved. They have their own program. It's separate and state funded, I believe. And is that where Mrs. Coker fits in?
This is, Ms. Coker operates a home-delivered meals program from the Active Living Center, which is very similar to the Meals on Wheels programs in the churches. The one big difference is that none of the names on Ms. Coker's list are on any of the Meals on Wheels list, nor vice versa. If any name does come up and we find that it is on Mrs. Coker's list and we already have it on our list, we take it off immediately. This, again, is trying to hold down the abuse.
Sure. Very, very well done. Let's talk about the meals. First Baptist delivers on Tuesdays, and contrary to the soup kitchen program, the food is prepared on the day specifically for the recipients. Is that correct?
Yes, sir,
Yeah.
that is correct.
Who determines the menu?
Mr. Jim Pendergraft, who is the Director of Food Services for our church, determines our menus, purchases all of the food, and oversees the preparation of the meals for our program. And these meals consist of one meat, one or two vegetables, one bread, one fruit cup, and a beverage.
Good. I was going to ask you what a typical meal looked like, and you just described it for me. Thank you very much, Bill. How many volunteers are required for assembling the meals?
We use an assembly line type operation to speed the assembly of the food in the trays. And in this operation, we assemble the food, close the lids, crimp the lids, and place the food in the thermal delivery bags. This requires 7 to 8 people for the entire operation.
7 to 8 for each one. How many meals are delivered hot and ready to eat? Approximately. Well, I believe you said a while ago.
We're delivering 115 to 120.
And how do you assure that they get to where they're supposed to go?
Well, I think
hot and ready to eat is what I should have said, I guess.
Right. I think that the speed of the operation of getting the food out and the thermal bags that we use are the two biggest things that can assure that they get a hot meal. After all said and done, the food, cooked food, is brought directly from the ovens to the assembly area, where the 6 or 7 people just mentioned, 7 or 8 people just mentioned, assemble the food, close the top, crimp the top, and then place the trays into the delivery bag, into the delivery bags, where almost immediately 22 drivers or delivery people pick up these bags and take them out to deliver the meals to the 115 to 120 recipients on 14 routes all over town.
14 routes, and you've got 22 drivers. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And that's what assures getting them all over town as well. I was wondering about, I could visualize these people going out all over, every direction, I guess, in town. Thank you for describing that to us. I would guess that people change, and sometimes maybe even routes change, Bill. And does this require maybe updating your instructions from time to time?
Well, each delivery person has a copy of a list of their route, of their names on their route, plus some pertinent information. And they use this to make sure that they get all of the meals to all of the people on their route. However, if any occurrence comes along, that any change occurs in their list, it makes no difference what that change might be. As soon as a change does occur, a new list is printed out.
I see.
On a computer program that my son wrote just for the Meals on Wheels.
Your son developed a special program for that. That's interesting. But I can see how it would be very helpful to you in the administration of this program.
No question at all. I couldn't get by without the
Great.
computer.
It's a vital tool.
Right.
Yeah, good. Well, Jim Lee, Bill Wright, I want to thank you for spending time to document these important ministries in our church. Do you have any other comments? Well, I am deeply impressed. I want you to know I'm impressed by the fact that you have been providing the leadership of these important ministries for more than 20 years. This has to be a rewarding experience, I know, but it's also a demanding one. And your volunteers certainly must be proud of the work that you and they are doing. And we certainly salute them, and we salute you and wish you continued good success with this program. Surely the people on the receiving end of this ministry are appreciative of you and your leadership, and we want to add our gratitude to that. It's a wonderful ministry. I trust that this documentation by video that's going into our archives here at the church will be beneficial even in the years to come as young people grow up and look at this video and see what people like you are doing in a field of ministry that would perhaps be something that they would like to do. So I think it's for our use now, but certainly for posterity. And we thank you for what you're doing, what you have done over the years. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack.
Yes, sir.